Hello, everyone. Hello, Will.
Hello.
That's Will from Fitzdares, who has really not unimpressed at all by being in some football stadium in the middle of...
I just won Bookmaker of the Year. That's all. Thanks.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
I know.
You can expect some good odds from you now.
No, I paid them quite a lot of money. It's a football thing, as you can see. I'll leave you to it, sorry.
No, not at all. So welcome, everybody. I'm looking at the chat panel, and what I'd really like is if people can kind of hear me, so I'm not sounding as if I'm... what's the word? Oops, press the wrong button there. Just say hi if you're on the chat panel. You can hear me. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you very much. I'm looking at just a still picture of Will Woodhams, our betting partner. Hello, everyone. So hi, Kay. Hi, Nick. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Andy. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Damon. Hi, Andy again. Hi, Teresa. Yeah, okay. We've done this. So thank you very much for joining us on our first ever, is it broadcast? Some people in this some people are more experienced in this field than
You're doing a good job. I'm enjoying
than me. Yeah, get you out of a job soon. And also thank you very much for your various questions. So my job is going to be to press the mute button when I'm not talking, apparently, because James, the COO of Old Gold Racing, is sitting there with the beams above his head. And to direct questions to people. And so thank you to people who've sent us questions so far. It looks like you can just send your questions in chat too. So try and keep them just this side of blue. So Adrian Partridge, questions for Paul Webber. Paul, what is the typical ration of stable staff to horses in training?
Goodness me, in the good old days, it used to be sort of nearly a horse to a person, and probably in the Godolphin stables, it probably still is a horse to a person. But us mere mortals, our lads and lasses probably look after sort of five and a half horses probably, because we divide our team up between sort of riders and grand staff. And so it's about 5, and they choose the horses. When a new horse comes into the yard, it gets allocated to someone who's short of a horse and looking forward to looking after a new one.
Awesome, thank you very much. Adrian, you've got some more questions, and I'll try and come round to them. Robin Warren sent us a question going, again to you, Paul. Is there a horse you could give us to follow for this season, obviously apart from Bracador, Lady de Vega, and if we're lucky enough to buy a horse tomorrow?
There's a horse, a 3-year-old who did his first piece of work this morning. He was a horse that was unsold at Doncaster and sent to us to hopefully win a bumper with and sell. And he's one I'd identify him. But the problem is he hasn't been named yet. So you'll just have to hang on a little bit longer, and the secret will have to go on. But he is by Casamento, the same sire as House Island.
So we'll probably send a little email out just to ruin all the bookmakers' fun.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, there's a question from Michael Harris are you there, Will? Will, what's the biggest payout that Fitzdares has ever made?
About 150 yesterday, grand. We had, no, actually, I think probably the nicest bet, we had a treble at Ascot, which was 200 quid that paid out. What was that horse? It was another syndicate, so I won't mention it. But can you hear me? Paid out.
Yes,
paid out 130 grand off a £200 bet at Ascot in one day. So that was good. And then I suppose the biggest payout, we've been hit for the big one 3 times. But week to week, the biggest bet will probably pay out is just over 6 figures. We'll tend to hedge things over £100,000. So we'll just take the sting out of it. So if it's going to be £170,000, we'll try and hedge if we can, particularly if it's a multiple, that extra 70.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I've just got a question in from Mark Sykes to us panelists. Hi to all of you. I don't really know of any of you. So could you tell us how you started in racing? So actually, that's a good question. We'll go all the way around. Rather selfishly, I'm going to start first. I started in racing because my mum used to take me racing to go and see a friend of hers. And I end up being largely chatting to bookmakers in the Tats enclosure, including one called Charlie James, who used to give us a lot of tips. And I got rather hooked into racing. My French exchange student so that I could speak French. His father was a trainer, so I got carted around most of Normandy quite often. And I just got really hooked into the sport. I haven't said anything to Francesca yet, so come on, Francesca. It's fairly obvious, but
yeah. I like the next question though. Ed, can you share the wine? I don't think it's like
actually. No, it says shire the wine.
Well, I think we mean share.
We get another bottle.
Nice, what is this? A Croz Hermitage. It's going down rather nicely. I got involved. Yeah, I mean, my dad was a trainer, recently retired. My mum was very integral on the breeding side of the operation and born into it. My bedroom looked onto a whole stable full of horses, and I think it can probably send you one way or another. And I was only ever going to be really in love with the sport, always have been, very much so from a hands-on point of view, loved the animal, loved the horses, and then ended up into a career in the media, and then more recently got involved with these guys. And that is a great sound, Ed. Over to, who should we go to? I think we should go to Paul next.
Well, my involvement was similar to yours. I think Francesca literally born here, where there were horses, and Dad had pointers. And when we were told, like all children, to go and play in the dirt outside, it probably had a pony involved with it. And so did a bit of that and hunting and all those usual things. Tried to play polo, and then really my A-level results meant that I didn't have any alternative. And my maths reports are still on the downstairs loo wall. So I think after the A-levels, I had to find a job that you didn't need any qualifications for. And I think racing at that stage was the one.
Paul, while you're there, Hannah Walker has said, you mentioned that you swim your horses even before they head to the races. Why so?
Not at this time of year, a little chilly for naked swimming at this time of year, but in the summertime we swim them just before they get on the horse box, because it just, like us, it just does keep them cooler for traveling, and then for the hotter days of the summer. And also when they get back from the races, if it's been a very hot day, we'll pop them through the swimming pool quickly and even put them out in the paddock for an hour before catching them and putting them to bed. So it's just a lovely way to cool and freshen them.
Question from Lena Munt for Francesca. What attracted you to Old Gold Racing?
I think essentially what's other than the copious amount of wine that seems to flow in this setup. What attracts me to Old Gold Racing is the idea of so many people being able to be involved in ownership of racehorses at such an affordable price. I don't want to sound like a kind of sales spiel here, but really I think for a long time, or the perception of racing is that you have to be extremely wealthy to get involved, and I know through small bits of horses that I've owned in the past that that's not the case. And I think through Old Gold you can give people such a brilliant experience of owning a racehorse without having to have the usual very high costs that come with it.
I mean, she's learned the script fully, knows it better than any of us, so we can send her off a few sales pitches. And actually, Steve, well, I think you might be Beauville, but I don't know. This question, it's on the spreadsheet, it's number 30. Another one for Francesca. Are you convinced that jumps is better than flat yet?
Steve, come on, it's not a competition. Why can't we like them both? I mean, obviously, my upbringing was in the flat, and really I spent a lot of years away from England at this time of year. I've been in Australia for the last kind of 12, 13 winters, so I essentially missed a lot of the jumps racing season, and as a result you don't get to know the people, the horses, the scene so well. And I've really enjoyed coming back into it, and actually through Old Gold Racing, having that more hands-on involvement as well has brought a whole new appreciation for it. When Paul and Ed were like, yeah, come and school Bracador. I went, oh my God, this is nuts. But actually, it was the best feeling ever, and I'm enjoying it all the more for it.
Thank you. Teresa Kirby, a question for you, Paul. I've noticed that Lady de Vega is on the gallops in a head covering. What's this for, please?
She wears a hood, which acts as a sort of a pacifier. It just dampens the noise a bit. It makes her more relaxed. She wore the hood when she won on the flat at Leicester for Marco Botti, her previous trainer. And we've just found that she is more relaxed in the hood, and therefore, keeps the revs down a bit, and it just seems to suit her very well.
Cool, thanks for that. Simon Tufnell just asked us, hi Ed, how are Old Gold Racing sourcing horses, and is leasing an option? We source horses through a number of different people, and actually a lot of people just approach us anyway, because we are obviously the future of racehorse ownership. But in fact, this answers another question that someone asked, and I will try and come back to you, but how we got Bob Pebble, and the answer is that I was talking to Tom Malone very early on, and he said that Bob Pebble might be a very good first horse for Old Gold Racing, and not least, people are very attracted to greys and so on and so forth. Simon, your question goes on to say, would we think about leasing a horse? And it's something that Francesca and I have talked about quite a lot. And there are two sides to that coin. One is we try to keep our messaging very simple, not for the very sophisticated people who are already on this very sophisticated WhatsApp, what is it called? Zoom thing. But to try and attract people, we want to, I think, I've got a message coming in forever. We try to keep our messaging really simple, so that we're only really saying one thing at a time. And at the moment, we buy a horse, you buy a share in a horse, you genuinely own a share of that horse. You're actually responsible for some of the consequences of that horse. It's just that we happen to have an insurance policy to cover you against it doing anything really evil to anyone. But that horse is a thing that you genuinely own. If we started talking about leasing, which we want to, it does slightly complicate our messaging. But there are real advantages, particularly in the flat, of leasing a horse, because we could probably pick up a horse, quote unquote, for free, and then our owners would get all the experience of owning a racehorse, plus all the prize money, plus all the things that we already do. But the onward life of that horse they wouldn't be involved in, and that's no different from a national hunt horse, which actually at the end of its career is a liability for the business. But as you can see with Bracador, we take it very seriously. But with a flat horse, it's potentially very remunerative. So I hope that kind of makes sense of that question. I'm desperately going to go on to another one, which isn't my sister's one, which has just come in. Is who is Tom Malone? Tom Malone is a bloodstock agent. I think that's right. Andy Higley, thank you. You bailed me out. For Paul Webber, what's Paul Webber's long-term view of Lady de Vega?
Long-term view, well, let's go into the short-term view, which is to get the race course first, I hope in about 4 weeks' time. The long-term view is that she can hopefully run over hurdles this winter. She looks to be well handicapped on the flat, and could also go back to flat racing, although she has to pass the stalls test, because she behaved quite badly in the stalls on one occasion. But our long-term view is to win over hurdles, to win on the flat, and then being a filly and being by Lope de Vega, who's such a popular stallion and could become a very good broodmare stallion, she then has a good residual value once we've made her win lots of races as a broodmare.
James, I'm going to ask you a question. It's from Anthony Bridger. It's a bit of a bastard. Okay. What's your background in racing?
Well, we didn't go around the team, did we?
We didn't, and then I went over some more wine and forgot about the question.
Well, I can answer the previous question in this one, I guess. My background in racing is pretty much non-existent. It was Old Gold Racing that has made me have to go on quite a steep learning curve about how it all works, all the jargon and all of that. I always took a passing interest, but now it's a homework assignment, to put it that way.
Fair enough. And I'm gonna Kay Main's has asked this question, which kind of follows up from that, because I know particularly from your side how ambitious you are to grow the company, onto a sort of global scale. So she says, aimed to me, but really it's a question for you. You said that you want to grow Old Gold Racing substantially, quite right. How will you keep the personal touch that you do so well with the owners?
Okay. I think there's a lot of emphasis on tech these days. And tech does let you do things at a larger scale because it makes things more efficient. However, I don't think you should be fetishistic about technology. The way that you do it whilst keeping the personal touch is making sure that you have very well briefed customer service teams who understand what the business is all about and understand the user needs. So the way to do it essentially is not to skimp on making sure that you are building a really, really solid customer service department.
So in fact, what you're saying is that we will grow, as the business grows, we will have more people working for us to look after all our owners.
Exactly, yeah. You can't start chasing marginal costs if you want to create a really great business that delivers a really good experience.
Thanks, James. Will, question for you. Are you there still?
I am. There's Kirsty Gallagher at the award ceremony. He says running out. I don't think I've won, so don't worry. Sorry, what was your question?
A question from, and I'm afraid I can't remember where it came from. I did think it was very funny. So thank you, whoever asked me. Are your legs okay since your riding lesson?
Yeah, I think I've developed gout since Francesca put me on Hal. That's me winning. I had, honestly, we drove back from Paul Webber's and my wife turned to me and said that was the best day she'd ever had. And I could say that to all old gout owners like me, that if you can spend a day at Paul's, it is one of the best experiences you ever have. And I'm so happy you humiliated me on the horse, because it was a wonderful day and the video is brilliant. And I look a little bit like a hippo on a tricycle at some sort of Bulgarian zoo. But I can't believe, if anyone watched, Francesca and Paul managed to get me sort of, I'd say a sort of in-hand canter. And in a jockey saddle that was slippier than sort of Grace Jones. I mean, I've never seen anything like it, but it was wonderful. So thank you so much for a brilliant day. And my legs, yes, absolutely. I've been bow-legged like a sort of cowboy for about a month now.
But I hope, Will, that those brand new boots and chaps and jumpers are going to get a few more outings now.
All the gear, no idea, I think is about as perfect as you could say. But no, it was wonderful. And I have to say, bookies need to get onto horses quickly and show some empathy to the racing world, because it's not an easy task. It's much easier drinking champagne at the West London football clubs.
Will, while you're there, and then I'm going to go on to a question for Paul from Joshua, but Hannah has asked, what's your background?
What do you mean?
You know,
I'm 6'2", Taurus, great sense of humour. What? Sorry, that's like
maybe it's a question better for me.
His mature dating sites. No, I came. I've only been in bookmaking for 2.5 years. Funnily enough, I used to do the Victoria's Secret show, and I used to do sort of communication. I launched clubs like Annabelle's. I was the boss of French Connection, which was a rather shitty fashion label, but it was good when I was there. And I've done all manner of fun, all the stuff a teenage boy would like to do, other than sort of drug dealing and porn stardom. I've had a crack at, and of course, I've ended up being a bookmaker.
I hope, Hannah, that's answered the question. Paul, question for you. This is from Adrian Partridge again. Whose job is it to manage entries, declarations, logistics, etc.? And do all stables have access to standard IT packages to run this aspect?
There are standard IT packages, but our standard IT package is our wonderful Rowie, who's here on Wednesdays and Fridays. and spent 13 years working for my father before she then went to Nicky Henderson and almost single-handedly ran Seven Barrows for 20 years. She's come back to help us since my head lad and secretary left a couple of years ago. The rest of it is up to me. Entries and declarations and things like that, that's all part of my job. And we find that works well enough.
Thank you. Tony Bridger, thank you again for a good question. Ed said he might be getting a horse tomorrow. There's the Tattersalls brochure. Will this be for the flat, and will it be placed with Paul? So I'm going to answer the second question first. Is that yes, if we buy a horse tomorrow, it will actually, it'll go to Paul, but hey, which Paul? It'll go to Paul Webber.
Jesus.
It'll go to Paul Webber. And then I'm going to actually hand over the first bit of your question, Tony, to Francesca, because I did want to get a flat horse, and looks like we're going to get a jumper. So why have I made that decision?
Because I told you to. No, because this is a difficult time of year to be buying flat horses, because we have a big sale here in Newmarket in October, horses and training sale, where a lot of horses from the flat get sold. And really anything that trainers and owners are keeping at this time of year, they're excited to see on the track next year. So it's not really until the middle to second half of the season next year that those kind of horses are going to be coming up for sale. So hence why we're looking more at the National Hunt World.
That's pretty good. Thank you very much. There was a question I just said. Julie Carmichael, and you're so good. You write so much stuff about us online. Thank you for this. And I'm sorry that I got to your question quite late, but because it was a good one. As Old Gold Racing grows, will horses be placed in with trainers geographically around the UK? And I guess that's kind of for me to answer. The answer is yes. We really do have big ambitions, and actually, when you say around the UK, I'd probably answer that by going around the world. And there's a whole contingent of people asking me questions, some of which are bluer than others, about who are sitting watching from South Africa at the moment. And we have massive plans to not only grow Old Gold Racing and its trainer base across this country, but also into South America, into Australia, South Africa, Australia, and into the United States too. Hannah has asked, Chaska, you've been to Paul Nicholls and to Paul Webber's. Who was more hospitable?
Well, I can tell you, Coos sausages are the best.
Hey.
Way. Hey. Can we see you?
Yeah, can we see Coo?
It's all about, when you choose to have a horse in training, it's all about who provides the best breakfast. And at Copperdy, do I say that right? Copperdy Lawn?
Spot on.
The breakfast is sensational. So very hospitable, both trainers, really helpful, really chatty, really lovely. And different in the sense, probably the scale, I would say, is the biggest difference. At Paul Nicholls, there's just horses coming out of everywhere, and it's fascinating because they're in different yards all around the village of Ditchard, and then they all combine and they go in different places, and it's kind of quite hard keeping tabs on where everything is. Paul Webber's is probably maybe a bit more boutique in that sense, and what really struck me was the emphasis on all the different things you can do with a horse, whether it's swimming them, whether it's a walker, whether it's the lane that you saw with the walking lane in the water, loads of different types of jumps to school them over, cantering around the fields, cantering up the gallops. There's a big emphasis on real individual treatment for each athlete.
Paul, two questions for you. One from Neil Morris in South Africa. Will you dress up as Father Christmas and school your hunter in front of the house on Christmas Day?
Well, I used to dress up as Father Christmas and deliver presents to the villages a while back, and the kit is still there. And also also we did school him as in the snow. I've schooled the horse in the snow over the steeplechase fences. But I think it'd be a better idea to hand over to Mother Christmas, and Francesca could take that role now. I think it'd be a much better idea. A cracking idea.
We want for the Boxing Day coverage at Kempton, we want everyone to send in their Christmassy festivities in the yard. So I think you dressing up on the horse, handing out presents in the village would be great if you could just arrange that.
We'll get to work on that. We'll get to work on that.
Great, perfect.
Question from Mark Sykes for Francesca. Apart from prize money, what, if anything, would you bring from Australian racing to racing in the UK?
Gosh, well, prize money is a big one, I've got to say. But you do ask, apart from prize money, I think the mass ownership, essentially. I think the figures keep changing because the ownership base in Australia keeps expanding. But we had this conversation the other day. I thought it was 1 in every 250 old Australians.
I think it's 1 in 30.
Share in a racehorse.
Yeah.
You thought 1 in 30.
Yeah,
so. Whilst prize money does make it more attractive to have a share in a racehorse, also the sense that anyone can get involved, I think, is great in Australia. I think also they have a really good way of making it appeal to lots of people through different means. Obviously, there's the gambling, but then also there's the social aspect of it. Thanks, Will. What a little interjection there. Receiving another prize. And I think they do a really good job marketing the sport to a really wide base of fans. And that's the biggest thing that I would probably bring more of that over to here.
We probably need another question for Will Woodhams. Will, have you won the prize yet?
I'm actually waiting. I think they're doing the payment provider of the Bookmaker Year Awards. So I think I'm quite safe on that front.
Paul from Kerry Jones, what do you think of summer jumping?
For the right horse, it's fine, but I'm afraid with the faster ground and things like that, it is more attritional on the horses. You need to have the right type of lightly made animal. Personally, I'd be in favour of giving jump racing back its little summer break, giving everybody a month or 6 weeks off. And giving the horses a bit of a break too, and the staff a bit of a break, because I think if we have too much summer jump racing, it's going to be a bit too attritional on the horses. And I think we should try and preserve the course season as much as we can.
And actually, with Bracador, we actually discussed that, didn't we? Because here is a horse who hitherto has won races in the summer, but we know that gave his legs a real pounding. And so we're going to try and look after his legs by both running him in softer ground in winter and in the summer and everything all at the same time. Isn't that right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a balance, and there are horses that can cope, but they don't last as long. I think everybody would say that to you. And listen, we must be very, very careful about horse welfare. And, jump racing is always under pressure from people who don't think it's the kindest thing to do to horses. So I think it's very important that we make sure we spend most of our time racing jump horses in the best conditions.
Thank you, Paul. And 2 questions which I'm going to run in together for you. One from Alan Histed, one from Steve White. Paul, so this question you're going to actually answer how it works rather than the question sort of directly, which is, would there be any benefit of running Lady de Vega in a National Hunt flat race? I know how you're going to answer it, but do you want to explain exactly how that works?
Yeah, no. Well, she's not eligible for a National Hunt flat race in that she's run on the flat. National Hunt flat races are for young jumping horses who start with a flat race before they go hurdling. So that's one avenue that's not open to her, because you're trying to preserve the National Hunt flat races as the domain for young National Hunt horses coming up to get their first education, rather than horses coming back from the flat.
Which leads on to the question that Steve White asked, is do you think that Lady de Vega is a natural jumper?
I think all horses can jump well. The best jumpers are the ones that are taught the best and who enjoy it the most. And it probably takes horses a different length of time to really enjoy jumping and to get very artful at it. Indefatigable took a little bit of time. Her first year as a novice, she was quick and rapid, but she didn't have a lot of respect for the hurdles. Gradually, she's now making a very good shape now and has schooled over fences. And it just takes some horses a little bit longer. Lady de Vega started in our loose jumping lane and thought that was good fun. And then she's had all the benefit of Yogi Breisner. And I think she really enjoys her jumping now, and he's making what we would call a good shape.
Cool. Okay, so we're going to run into the last 3 questions now because we were going to do 20 minutes. We've done about an hour.
Even I've got questions. I want to ask Paul things.
Go on then. Go on then. The question from Francesca to
well,
Paul.
no, I was interested in what you said there. So Indefatigable is a hurdler, right? But did you say you've just been jumping her over fences?
Yeah, we did. We schooled her over fences last week because there was a mare's listed novice chase coming up tomorrow, in fact, at Warwick. And although she's going to run at Cheltenham on Saturday in a mare's handicap hurdle, we were lacking opportunities, and we thought it might be worth taking a chance at Warwick. She schooled well, but the ground at Warwick was going to be too soft for it tomorrow, so we're going to stick with hurdles for now.
Because I think that's always something that confuses me. Sometimes you get horses that are kind of pure hurdlers. Sometimes they go from hurdling to chasing. Sometimes they mix up the two. Like, what tells you in your mind as to which they want to do?
Well, I think one, usually graduates from hurdling to chasing, but with mares and the program, there aren't a lot of races before Christmas. After Christmas, there are plenty of hurdle races and chases too. And I think horses are quite adaptable. I think they can do both. I think as long as you just school them over the correct line of fences before you run them, and don't school them over the wrong one, then I think they're perfectly happy to adapt.
And sometimes would you train a hurdler over fences just to kind of freshen them up or sharpen them up?
Yeah, I think also sometimes they can get a bit flippant over hurdles sometimes, and it's good to pop them over a fence just to make them look a bit more and sort of show a little bit more respect for the obstacle sometimes, and make them sort of make a better shape over them.
I've just got one more because this is really good for my.
Okay, we're going to go for 9 minutes.
I'm back on ITV this weekend, and I was asking myself these very questions. Like, is it always the holy grail to go from hurdling to chasing, or if you've got a good hurdler, you're just going to go, well, I'm going to aim for the champion hurdle and forget the chasing?
Absolutely. Listen, to win 3 champion hurdles is absolutely fine. There's no need to go novice chasing with that horse. But it's very often horses tend to stay a bit further as they get older. Therefore, the type of race they're going to go for changes. And then if they've got the scope and they've reached the top of their handicap mark over hurdles, you can start again as a novice chaser and have your year without being worried about the handicapper. So you can sort of go back to school and start again at a lower level.
Got it. Great. Thank you.
Okay. Question from Keith Schofield. Will you be expanding your merchandise range? James, will you just get a bit closer to the camera, please?
Yep, sure. So we've got 100 of these.
On the back.
Has he got the big one on the back?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so the
so we got 100 of the jumpers just come through. Lots of face masks. We'll have scarves in the new year alongside hats, so that hopefully, if we're allowed back on the course, everyone can be nice and warm and appropriately coloured. And then I think badges for dancing and Lady de Vega are due, so they'll be coming in soon. After that, it's really up to our owners as to what they'd like. If we get enough requests for certain things, then we'll do our best to get them in the shop.
Damon Giles, if Paul Webber could buy any 2 horses that are currently in training elsewhere, who would they be and why?
Oh, I'd love to offer JP a few quid for Epitol. And it might be quite difficult to do the deal with him, but it would be a wonderful experience. I think that would be the one. I think she's the most gorgeous mare. I think she'll win the champion hurdle. She's number 1. Number 2, well, I guess we try and pick on something that might win the Grand National. Not sure what it would be, but possibly Cloth Cap. of John Joe's? Again, Mr. Hemmings might be a difficult man to negotiate with, but it would be fun trying to do so.
Grand National or Gold Cup, Cheltenham Gold Cup as the...
Well, of course, I think we'd love to be aiming at the Cheltenham Gold Cup. We've only had one runner in it, which was Time for Rupert, who was approaching the third last of Dennis O'Regan, looking between his legs for danger. And we thought, oh my goodness me, this could be all right. And so that was a big thrill. So yeah, we'd like to find a Gold Cup horse. I don't know which one it is yet. Maybe this weekend with these novice chases at Cheltenham and Doncaster coming up this weekend, we might learn more about the future Gold Cup horse.
I think this might be the last question. It's chosen randomly. So David Harrison, thank you very much for the question. What methods, this is going to go to you, I guess, Paul. What methods do you use to test the ability of an inexperienced horse on the gallops? And do you use this to give each horse its potential handicap rating? Thanks for that.
We bring young horses along by sort of getting them to work with older, more experienced horses. You know, they start getting a lead and then they learn to join, and then you can put a more experienced horse in behind and help the less experienced horse up the hill. And then we don't gallop with weights. I've been lucky enough to see Sir Mark Prescott's work list one morning, where every single horse is assigned a weight and a weight cloth and things like that, and he can assess a gallop to the last pound. And sort of he likes to pigeonhole the horse and sort of be absolutely aware of its rating. We don't do anything like that. We let them come along and improve in their own time. But we get an impression, having watched horses here for 25 years, you get an impression of when they're improving, and that's what you want to see.
That's a really, really full answer. Paul, James, Will, if you're still there in your black tie in Stamford Bridge, Francesca, everybody, thank you so much for, most of all, for everyone joining us, but thank you for the panel for doing this. It's all been...
Thank you for putting it all
rather
together.
fun. Well, no, I think the guy in that box put it together.
Yeah, the one with all the post-it.
Yeah, the post-it note all on the wall. Remember to do the open day.
Well, thank you for the wine. What's for dinner?
Beef stroganoff.
Oh, great.
Beef stroganoff, and then we've got to put together a robot.
Right, okay. As you do.
Thank you very much, everyone. We will we'll let you know if any of these come good tomorrow. There's a couple of greys in answer to your question, Julie Carmichael, but they do command a bit of a premium, and one of them apparently whistles. Quite what it whistles, I don't know, but hope for a nice tune that I can write this. I'll do that. Good night, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us.
Cheers.
Thanks, James.
Cheers, everyone. Adios.